Welcome to the Fearlessly Fertile Podcast, episode 312, Fertility Fast Fact. Your rules are 100% made up. Hey, my loves, I'm so excited to be sharing this next episode in this really kick-ass series on Fertility Fast Facts, because this whole thing is about getting you to zero in on certain facts so that you can change your mind around them. I think of every single one of my miracle mamas, whether she has appeared on the podcast or not. You are benefiting from 11 years of experience in this area. I think about all of my miracle mamas and think to myself, like, if I was going to take an amalgamation of all of them, what are the things that I would want you to zero in on? Because you're not going to create a different result unless you think differently. Are the person that is going to determine your own success on this journey. And it all starts with who you are being, because you won't do the things that you need to do if you're not being the woman who does the things to make herself successful. Whatever it is that we are doing, all is preceded by who we are being. This is a really important distinction, which is why we have been zeroing in on little areas of mindset, little fast facts as we move through this series. These are all really important things to helping you change the way that you think and believe on this journey so you can change your results. You can create a different, better result. So this week we are zeroing in on the fact that, you know what? Your rules are 100% made up. Now, I know that when you hear me say that, you're like, what the hell are you talking about, Roseanne? You don't even know me. But this is actually something that is well known. Every single one of us was raised in a culture, religion, family structure, societal setup that led us to believe certain things. And so we grow up and we have this set of rules that we very rarely challenge into adulthood. And it usually isn't until we experience some kind of a crisis in our life that we ever go back and kind of think about, well, are these the rules that I want to live by? So in what we're doing here today, I'm going to be zeroing in on 4 basic rules that we very rarely go back to evaluate so that you can decide what the rules are that you will live by, not only as you live this journey, but as you live your life as a woman who is consciously creating her experience and her reality. Because whether you want to believe that or not, it's totally happening. So you may as well live by rules that actually work for you instead of just flowing along like plankton, doing what we've always done. So it's really important, this is one to take notes on or listen to a few times. It's something that I think you're ready for if you've been listening to this whole series. So it'll make a whole lot of sense once we get into it. So here we go. And like I was saying a few moments ago, so many of us were given a set of rules that we don't ever really go back to evaluate, but this journey will cause us to, at times, need to evaluate. Because if you listen to last week's episode when we were talking about you're either poverty-minded or abundance-minded, if we stay in a poverty mindset and never reevaluate, you are going to look at your journey in a very different way than you would if you had an abundance mindset. That's one of those major shifts that once you start to change that, everything around you begins to change as well. You see opportunities differently. You also tend to see yourself and the way that you approach so many things in your life. So we're building upon that this week. When we are consciously creating a set of quote unquote rules that we choose to live by, I'm going to tell you up front, it's going to take a little bit more energy. And frankly, it may cause you to get a little confused at first, because when we're looking to reevaluate the rules that we live by, our sabotage pattern will come in and say, well, if you change those rules, it's been done this way for decades, or it's been done this way for generations. Who are you to change them? Well, now is the time for you to change them, especially if you're not getting the result that you want. Now, listen up close. For those of you miracle mamas in the making who are doing all the treatments, diets, lotions, potions, and yoga poses and are still not getting and staying pregnant, you better listen up. Because most of the thing that drives us, and I know this because I'm in recovery from my lovably type A control freaky professional self, most of us fell into the idea that, hey, I'm just going to follow all the rules and I'm going to get what I came for, right? Think about what we learned from the education system. You do your homework, you turn it in on time, you get all the answers. Well, then you get the grade, and then you pass the class, and then you get to graduate, and then you get letters after your name. Well, that's very logical and linear, but that's not exactly what happens on this journey. You could follow all the rules and not have a baby in your arms. So this is exactly why smart women are going to be exploring this topic, because you have to change the rules. All right? When you're not getting the result, you don't just keep banging your head up against the wall harder to get what you want. You got to change the rules. So these are the 4 areas that I see women struggling with the most. If you didn't hear it in the intro, your rules are all made up. And that's not disrespect, mama. This is simply a statement of fact. Everything that we live by is completely made up. So you may as well have rules that actually work for you. So let's start upending the apple cart. The first rule that is completely made up are rules about when things are supposed to happen. Now, if you are at all like me, you're pretty career driven. And you probably spent most of your 30s climbing either the corporate ladder or moving through your residency, seeking your specialty if you went to medical school. Maybe you were building a business. Whatever the case may be, you were very focused on creating success. Now, by a lot of people's quote unquote rules or standards, chances are you found love later in life because you were so busy working on your career. So you didn't have the free time, I guess to say, or at least you didn't consciously choose the free time to be as focused on family, maybe getting married, whatever the case may be for you. But there's a lot of rules out there that say when things are supposed to happen, when we're supposed to get married, when we're supposed to have babies, when we're supposed to find love, when we're supposed to retire. It's like all of that stuff. But if we never stop and say, hey, does that actually apply to me? Then we are constantly laboring under some rule that doesn't even apply to us or our unique situation. It's not a reflection of who we are as unique individuals. As a woman who gets to consciously create her life and her experience, if you are laboring under rules that say you are too late, you are too old, it's over for you, how's that working for you, especially on this journey? This is the time, mama. This is the time for you to think about the current rules that you have about when things need to happen. I really want you to pay attention to this if you are somebody who feels like everybody else is ahead of you and that you're the last one on the block to have a baby, or you are behind everybody else, or you feel like the black sheep in the family because you're the last of the party. These rules about when things are supposed to happen are all made up. So think about what rules you want to have about when things happen. Think very carefully about that. Make sure that you have rules that allow you to be the individual that you are. The first set of rules that we are laboring under that are totally made up are, generally speaking, about when things should happen. The second area that's very closely related is we have tons of made up rules about how things are supposed to happen. Maybe you were laboring under the rule that says you have to have a job, you have to be financially independent, you have to be married, and just at the pinnacle of your career, then you could have a baby, right? It's really fascinating because we don't ever challenge that. Like, we keep saying that the perfect time to have a baby is somewhere out in the distance, right? But what if it's right now? What if you are at the perfect time in your life to have a baby? So those of you that are listening that are in your 40s and think, my gosh, none of this has happened in the way it was supposed to happen, right? I was supposed to graduate from college, fall in love, get married, have a baby, and go off into the distance. It's like, no. How it's supposed to happen is exactly as it is unfolding right now. Everybody else might have judgments about the how in your life, but what if the how in your life is working perfectly fine for you, right? Or what if you decided to do things out of order, right? That's another big subcategory about how things are supposed to happen is we run around with this idea that things have to happen in a certain order. You have to start at the bottom and then get to the top. But what if you trampoline your way up to the top and skip a whole bunch of steps? Who says? Who says that's less than? And who says that you can't have a baby before you're married? Right? If you ever get married. And look, I'm a huge proponent of marriage. I think it's fucking awesome. But it's not for everybody. But that goes to the essence of what we're talking about. Who gets to vote on your how, and whose rules on how are you going to live by? So think about that. The next area where I see women really getting wrapped up in rules that are just totally made up and frankly don't work for them is what's too much? What's too much? Who's to say that, number one, you are too much, or what you want is too much? Think about how often on a daily basis you catch yourself, maybe it's completely unconscious and you don't even recognize it, which is even scarier. But, this is your wake-up call. But what if you are laboring under the rule that says what you want is too much? It's too much for you to want a career, to have love, to have professional achievements, to have a baby, to have wealth, to have the ability to go on vacation, maybe multiple times a year, take a sabbatical, have a farm, have chickens, whatever the case may be. Who says that's too much? Who gets to decide that? You or someone else? Because the rules that you are currently working with that are saying it's too much, chances are those are not yours. Those are from somebody else's judgment. They have nothing to do with you, and they're based on a life experience that you're not living. So what if the rules that are saying you're too much are really, if you take a look at them, not enough, or just barely getting by? Your rules are made up, mama. You get to decide what's enough and what's too much. Some of us have spent decades accepting too little because the rules we were given said that we and what we want are too much. Now, this is very closely connected to the rules about what we deserve. Think about that. What are your internal rules about what you deserve? What do you have to do before you can have what you want? I bet some of you can remember your mom's voice saying, you got to eat your vegetables before you have dessert. Well, says who? Right? That's a silly example, but it gives you something very real to sink your teeth into. Who said? Now, I'm not here to tell you that there aren't shreds of reality or shreds of some modicum of truth to some of these rules. But that doesn't mean that they can go or have to go unchecked indefinitely. All of these rules are subject to review. Especially if you, as a woman, are choosing to be your own authority in your life, which for fuck's sake, you've probably earned. Who decides what you deserve? Rules from when you were 7 or 8? Or you, as the educated, grown-ass woman who has earned the respect of her peers, her friends, her family, and frankly, even if none of those people liked you, you get to make your own rules, especially about what you deserve. So think about that. We've talked about rules about when things are supposed to happen, how they're supposed to happen, what's too much, and what you deserve. So much of this is going to come back to that very nagging and simple idea of what you deserve. It's central to who we are and what we allow ourselves to receive in this life. Remember, last episode we were talking about lack and scarcity, poverty mindset. Conceiving is all about receiving. People who have a poverty mindset tend to be the worst receivers. Conceiving is all about receiving. See why you might be struggling with that? Same thing applies here. If you don't deserve good care because you're not a perfect person, you may want to check that rule and you might want to change it. If you are laboring under the idea that you don't deserve to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in for this dream of being a baby, I mean, think about what we talked about in the last episode. People will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on education and then scoff at the idea of having a baby. It's like, get the fuck out of here, right? Why is it that the dreams that we have that are so close to our heart, we get shamed for? I think you should toss that rule because it's full of shit. But think about that. What is your rule about what you deserve? As a conscious woman, you're going to want to rewrite that one. The next area that I see women really struggling with is the rules that they have around who they have to be to friends, family, in their relationships. Think about that. Who are you supposed to be with your friends? Are you the fun girl? Are you the planner? Like, that's a role that you took on. Like, is that a rule that you want to live by? Or maybe you are the rescuer in your family. Let's say you're the most accomplished of your siblings and your family all looks up to you to unfuck everybody else's life because you might be more educated, you might have more money, and you probably have your shit together. But who made up the rule that you are supposed to clean up everyone else's mess? Who made up that rule? And do you actually want to live by that? And then in your relationship, your intimate relationship, what rules do you want to live by? Are they somebody else's rules, or are they ones that you and your partner have consciously chosen because you are both awake in your lives and you really want to be there for what each other desires? Professionally, personally, in other aspects of your life, your rules are 100% made up. So you may as well create rules about when things happen, how they happen, what you deserve, what's too much, and who you have to be that work for you and are a reflection of who you actually fucking are. The other thing about this that I have to say, because I know, like when you're a good person and you're just trying to get through your life, have some joy, have this baby, like, I don't want to tear everything down, but you don't have to. Okay, you don't have to. None of this is about burning your life down. It's really about being awake and waking up to the reality that as a grown-ass woman, you get to be the authority in your life. You get to have boundaries. You get to decide as an intelligent consumer who's on your bump squad, what clinics you'll go to, what professionals you bring in, and who the fuck you surround yourself with, okay? These are basics that far too many women and sometimes men just don't feel super empowered. So I'm here to remind you, your rules are 100% fucking made up. And chances are they aren't even yours. Somebody else gave them to you. So it's time for a massive upgrade. But alongside that, when we're freaking out about who we have to be for our friends, our family, and in our partnership, who says you have to be nice? Ooh, that's probably going to scare some people, especially if you have earned the role as the nice girl, the girl that plans all the parties, the woman who is in charge of everything because you get shit done and you are the only one that can do it right. Like, who says that you have to be nice? Nice is a massive con. It is a massive con job. Being nice is a con job that has been perpetrated upon women all over the world, regardless of language and culture. The idea that we're supposed to be nice is a judgment by somebody else that's usually benefiting from our lack of boundaries. Typically, the people that are the nicest are the ones with the weakest fucking boundaries. And the people that call you nice are the people that benefit from your fucking misery. Now, I know probably people don't have bad intentions, and I'm not saying, anyone who says that you're not nice or anyone who says you are nice is out to get you, but think about what they gain. Think about that. People want you to behave a certain way because they don't have to change or they don't have to make room for the person that you're becoming. And look, there's a lot of changes that happen for you as you live this journey. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about your partner. You're going to learn a lot about the process. You're going to learn a lot about your own intentions and your own authority. So this journey, as you've heard me say before, is a fucking gift because you wake up on so many different levels. It's a fucking gift, but you have to be willing to receive it. Going back to the point about what people think of you and who you're supposed to be with these people, you don't have to be nice. It's all made up that you have to return every single text. It's all made up that you have to call people and update them on your fertility journey. It's all made up that you have to accept every baby shower invitation. It's all made up that you have to paint on a smile when you're around people that don't get that you're in fucking hell right now, at least on occasion. It's all made up. All of these rules are 100% made up. I want to invite you to consider reworking them. We have one life, at least that we know of. And this is one of the most important times in your life, in your personal growth as a woman. What do you want this to be? And maybe part of the reason you're struggling on this journey is because you are oppressed by somebody else's rules. Now, that doesn't give you license to be a fucking victim. What we're talking about here is how you are going to get out of that idiotic cycle and become the authority in your life. Be the woman who decides when things happen, how things happen, what she deserves, and who she's going to be. Think about how incredibly powerful you are. Think about that position, living this journey from that position, instead of a woman who's still laboring under these arbitrary rules that were handed to her before she even had conscious awareness that they were being handed to her. So many of these are so deeply rooted in your subconscious that you might fight me on this. You might fight me for your limitations as you're listening to this. Well, Roseanne, it sucks to not be nice. I'm supposed to be nice. I am the best at planning all the parties. I am the best at paying off everybody else's irresponsible bills, or whatever the case may be. I'm going to invite you to remember that that's all made up. It's all made up. It's all fucking made up. The best question ever is, what do I want here? What are the rules that I choose to live by? That is when your baby can really hear you. And most importantly, that's when you can hear your own voice, the voice of truth, the voice that says this desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. Go break the rules. Go be an outlier. Go be a fucking weirdo that beats all of the odds, does the thing that everyone says that she can't do. You can't beat the odds by finding yourself in the same place you were last year. If you want to beat the odds, you have to be willing to break the fucking rules. Beat the odds Break the rules. That's who you are, mama. That's what it takes to get to the end of this journey with a smile on your face and a baby on your hip. Your rules are made up. And if knowing that gives you some freedom, take it. You deserve to have that freedom. We all do. But it requires you to be willing to break the rules and to live by the beat of your own drum. And if you want my help getting there, my Fearlessly Fertile Method programs have just absolutely created a buzz in the fertility world. Women all over the world are making the seemingly impossible possible. So if you want some of that and you are serious about getting and staying pregnant in the next 12 months, go to my website, www.frommaybe2baby.com, and apply for an interview there. My methodology has helped women around the world make their mom dreams come true. Their results speak for themselves. And if you don't have a mindset for success on this journey, baby, what are you doing? You've got a gaping hole in your strategy. You want to be a miracle mama? You want to beat the odds? You have to think differently. And that's exactly what I'm going to help you do. Mind and body work together. You cannot separate the mind and the body. Make your mind work for you, not against you. Go to my website, www.frommaybe2baby.com. Till next time, change your mindset, change your results.
Love this episode of the Fearlessly Fertile podcast? Subscribe now and leave an awesome review. Remember, the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. When it comes to your dreams, keep saying hell yes.